Thank you, sir, for addressing the gathering with such an enthusiasm. I am sure everyone will remember the 7 key points. I take immense pleasure in introducing our chief guest, Mr. Er.IAS Balamurugan. He is the co-founder and managing partner at Anicut Capital. He is the distinguished alumnus of TCE and has completed MBA in finance. He is the former deputy general manager at ICICI Bank. He is a remarkable speaker who motivates and advises the younger generation who aspire to succeed in entrepreneurial path. It is always worthwhile to hear it straight from the source. Let's listen and get illuminated. I kindly request Mr. Er.IAS Balamurugan, sir, to address the gathering on India's startup ecosystem and its opportunities.
அனைவருக்கும் மாலை வணக்கம். குட் ஈவினிங். வெங்கி சொன்ன மாதிரி தான், யாருக்கும் பேசுகிறது பிடிக்கலன்னா பாதியிலே கிளம்பி போயிடலாம், யாரும் இருக்கணும்னு தேவையில்லை. பிரின்சிபால்ட்டையும் பேசிட்டேன், யாருக்கும் மார்க் கம்மி பண்ணக்கூடாதுன்னு. அதனால் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் நீங்களும் இருக்கிறது தேவையில்லை. ஸோ அதனால் யூ கேன் ஃபீல் அட் ஈஸ் அண்ட் வெனவர் யூ கெட் போர்ட் லைக் ஐ திங்க் யூ கேன் லீவ். பட் என்னோட இது என்னென்னா, நான் வந்து ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸை நான் மைண்டில் வச்சுட்டு ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட் அப் இந்தியா லைக் ஸ்டார்ட் அப்பில் என்ன நடக்குது, வாட் இஸ் ஹேப்பனிங் இன் இந்தியா அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு சின்ன ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் எடுத்து வந்திருக்கேன். So in case, like I think, if founders, it was not necessarily meant for founders. If you think that like, if you have to stop me somewhere, if you have to ask me questions, we can do it. Or I can take some few questions from founders and I can spend time with students. So we can evolve it over the course of this discussion. I hope it is all right with you, all of you. Okay? Okay, good. Thank you. Can we have the slide on? Yeah. Can you reach the mic to them? Like if you have a mic to them, like what? You have a mic? What was the question you said? I think if you could repeat once. See, ideally speaking, one should not be, diluting. See, end of the day, it is ownership, am I right? Whenever you raise money, you end up diluting your ownership. Which means, like, let's say you start up with 100%, or you two founders start up with 100%. When you raise money, when you raise equity, you keep diluting yourself. Your 100 becomes 80, 80 becomes like 50, 60, like I think, it could even become single digits. So there are two ways of looking at. Some people will tell you, when there is money, just raise it and keep it. Okay, that is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is that I think, don't raise money and, if it is not required. So it is again, I would suggest that I think it is your philosophical call of like how you want to do it. For example, there are two examples whom I know. Venki is one, who has never raised even 1 rupee of capital and he created a business which is large and then he has sold it also. And there is another gentleman I know like Mr. Sridhar Vembu, who has not even raised even 1 rupee today. He has reached a scale like I think which he thinks that he can fund many companies. On the opposite side, you've got many companies like which thinks raising money is the most important milestone in their life and stop with that and say that I think I have raised money, hence I should be happy. So, I don't have a, perfect answer for this. Yeah. It all depends. Yeah.
Yeah, see, the reason why I was asking is one on the founder's perspective. So if as long as they want to utilize the money for what it is intended to, right? And other side, there is also founders who think like the investments or the funds are free money. So on the founder side, the question is, I'm very new to the startup ecosystem. So I was having a confusion, whether I should go for funding now or later or never. Never is again, like you said, it's a philosophical choice. But when is the right time? It should be, is there any standard roadmap where we can fit, yes, it's the right time for any typical startup to raise fund?
See, there is no roadmap. There is nothing fixated saying that this is when you need to do it. I don't think there is a formula-based approach. But I could say one thing. If you think that you have reached an inflection point, this is something is very good. It is stopping me because I don't have the money. If you ever felt it like that, you go and raise the money next day. Okay, that's what I would say. And most of the businesses, like I think when we look at it, but for money, this business got all the right things like I think in place. And if you give them vitamin M, it is going to take off from here. That's what I would keep looking at it when we look at putting money, am I right? So that's what we do it internally. So I would reverse that and say, But for money, you've got everything in place. You've got the product, like I think you've got the thinking, or like I think maybe at an early stage, I think I met someone who said, I'm drying bamboo-based tea. These things that I think I need to grow, it's completely new, so I need to test it out, But, so in some businesses, you would need money when you actually think like, okay, I'm ready, like I think I need money, I think with that I will play off. But there are some certain areas, that's where I think our IP attorney, I think if he's still around, I think he left, deep tech, which is like, okay, I want to send a rocket, which is a 3D printed rocket engine, which is what one of our portfolio companies is doing. It's a company called Anicut, which is based out of IIT Chennai. So he's saying like the entire rocket engine, I'm going to 3D print it. And like, no, so unless he has money, he will not be able to hire the best of people. Unless he has the money, like I think he would not be able to, get this engine done and everything. Then like, set up a launch pad in ISRO, which require money. And then he has to manufacture the rocket, which, then wait for the rocket to go up. If it goes up, then he has arrived. If it goes into the marina, we have all arrived. So I think, that's what the difference is. So I think, those businesses require money at that point in time. So, it's I would rather put it this way, like I think, this is again, the rising money is being romanticized. It's being like, நம்ம மதுரை பற்றி படம் எடுத்தாலே ஒரு அருவாளோட வந்தால் தான் மதுரை படம் இருக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஸ்டார்ட் அப்னா உடனே ஃபண்டிங் ரைஸ் பண்ணால் தான் நான் ஒரு மனுஷன், இல்லைன்னா நான் மனுஷன் இல்லை. இப்போ நாங்கள் 90s இன்ஜினியரிங் முடிக்கும் போதெல்லாம் அமெரிக்காவுக்கு போய் வேலை பார்த்தா தான் அவன் பெரிய ஆள், இந்தியாவில் இருக்கவன் பூரா வீணாக போனவன்னு ஒரு மாதிரி ஒரு கான்செப்ட் இருந்தது. அது ஒரு ரொமான்டிசேஷன். ஸோ அதே மாதிரி லைக் இன்னைக்கு ஸ்டார்ட் அப்பில் லைக் ஐ திங்க் the romanticization of the startups is that if I raise money, I am a great startup. If I don't raise money, like I'm not a great startup. It is not that way. I think I would put it this way, like I think raise money, like I think, if you feel that business requires money at that point in time, but for money I'm ready, set up and I'm here to fly, you raise money. Otherwise don't. That's what I would say.
Thanks.
Thank you. If there are any other questions on that. Okay. Can you just go to the last slide, sir, if you don't mind? Very last slide. Very, very last slide. Very, very last slide. I think we back in 2020 or the deep of COVID wave 1, when I think people are dying, like I think, countries were shut, and this is what I think I started off giving a lot of positive message, but I think I left this at the start of, I think I ended this presentation on that day with this slide. The reason I thought today, like I think we should talk about this upfront rather than later, is that I think, I've got a good friend from, the newspaper Hindu here. See, some of the journalists are very, very good, but some of them also believe that I think, if you only sensationalize news, then like I think, that's a good way of reporting it. And they would say, like I think whatever I do, you would blame me. You would keep reading, like I think your YouTube, I think reading in newspapers, YouTube, Instagrams, like you will only talk about Chinese wave, Chinese new COVID wave, how it's going to kill 2 million people in the next 3-4 months. So just remember this. Okay, so we had, these are the kind of events which have played out in the last 6-7 centuries, 1347, 1520. I think, 1347, I think it almost, it wiped out 1/3 or like half of Europe. I think the plague which started off in Istanbul, that time it was called Constantinople. When the ships sailed to Europe, because Constantinople at that point in time was the biggest hub of like exports and imports, and it killed 1/3, or I think people say up to 40-45%. But I think humankind stayed, evolved, and then like Europe rediscovered itself like and came back. So and also just see, every crisis has actually created an opportunity. The Great Depression in US actually created an opportunity for the women to come and work. Till such time it was only the man's kingdom of work, and women was restricted to the kitchen. And like when Great Depression, when America got stuck, then everyone has to chip in with work so that I think families can run. So every crisis has resulted in something like which is, which was a great opportunity. The last one was 2008, and now I think probably 2020, 21, people will talk about like I think how COVID has impacted so many businesses. I think I'm here to tell you, It impacted so many businesses, but at the same time, it's the greatest opportunity, like I think this generation of entrepreneurs as well as this generation of students would have it. So I think don't be worried, on this COVID crisis or whatever you are reading about in China. I would rather say, like, I think if you can shut the newspaper down for the next, I think 1 or 2 months, I think it's good. I've not read a newspaper in my life for the last 2 years now, ever since COVID came, because I actually became so we had 50 companies and half of them went down, from a sales of 100 rupees, it went down to 0. So I think then every time you look at the paper, they would say this business, that business. I said, okay, let me not read paper whether life has changed. It has not changed at all. So I think, I'm very happy in my own cocoon and my own, so I think when bad news comes, I think just cut off the world. I think, the rest of the world, I think it's all hype. So you will die, all of us will die, am I right? So I think, there is no escapism of death. We are all mortals. We will go one day. But I think what is more important is, I think what an impactful life, we will leave behind. Okay, so my batchmate Vimala, who's sitting there in the back. So a few days back, I think we were texting and having a conversation. So I just pulled out one Tirukural, if I remember right. I said, I think Takkar Tagavilar Enbar Avavar Echattar Ariya Paduvar Abdinta. So it means, I think, people who leave, they would be known by their droppings. Nothing but their, in those days, I think people are known by the children they produced. But I could say, I think, today's age and world, I think people will be known by what the institutions they left behind, what patents they left behind, what institutions they... I think, for example, I think I'm the greatest beneficiary of the droppings of Tyagaraja Chettiar, am I right? He left this institution. I think, we should all be proud of, I think, what he left behind. In fact, I wrote to her also, saying that I think Chettiar, Tyagaraja Chettiar created this dropping, and that's why we are good friends. So I think, so let me pay the tribute to the founder to start off. I think, as a family, I think you all should be proud of, I think, what your grandfather achieved. I think, we all here, I think, because we exist here because of you. Thank you. So let's go back to the slide number 1, sir, if you can go back. Okay, so I think this was meant mostly for students. So I was, most of the times, we always get the micro right. What is micro? Micro is my company, my product, my solution. This is what, I think our life is, we always get it right. What is something which is invisible is the macroeconomics. See, I think in my generation, if I have to go back, I think in 90s when we studied, we had only 2 kinds of cars, 2 colors of cars, not 2 models and 2 colors of cars. One was Ambassador, the other one was Fiat. There were 2 colors, one was white, one was black, correct? How many of you know this? Only 2 colors. I think we had to wait for Maruti to come out cars in different colors to see, I think this is how a car looks. A telephone took 15 years to come, correct? Telephone took 15 years to come. If someone had a telephone, I think that's the greatest thing. Those were not micro issues. Those were macro issues, policy issues, that is to do with the way people have decided on that day that this is how I would run the country, this is how I would have a macroeconomics policies of the company. So I was just wanting to introduce few concepts. I think, if it is very basic, you stop me because most of them are founders and we've got... So one is, the GDP is a measure of what is country's wealth is. Let's put it this way. Okay, the other thing which I want to talk about in GDP is, people would come back and tell you we are the fourth largest economy today, probably about $3 trillion. But the point is, when you measure it with purchase power parity, which is let's say, if I have 1 rupee here and $1, in US, how much is that? I think I would be able to buy with the same dollar or with the same rupee in India. Probably things are very costly there. Things are not so costly here in India. We are probably 3rd largest economy. And we are at least about 9 to $10 trillion of economy when it comes to purchase power parity. We are at least 3.5 times more. The reason is because we are a great saving country. We don't throw things away. We just don't throw things away. We just make sure, I think we use it to the hilt. Okay, the shirt which you buy, probably you will use it for 5 years. I have used it for 5 years, 7 years. You don't just throw it. I think we Indians, we love serpu thakkirathu, tinker pandrathu, recycling pandrathu. It's part of it. So the point is, you take the maximum out of the same product again and again and again. And that's one of the reasons you have purchasing power parity is at the highest in the country, highest in the world. As long as you have that mentality, you don't have to be like, I think, number one economy. Even if you become 5 trillion, 7 trillion, which is, let's say, in 5 years and 7 year time, it'll be a lot of money. It'll be a lot of money. I think like if someone is greedy about money, I can tell you it's a lot of money in the next 5, 7, 10 years. The money is going to be huge, like which is going to be coming out of this country. Just be remembering this. This is the best time of your life to be entrepreneur, creating businesses, making money. Making money is not a bad word. It's a good thing to do. You may not use it. You would still wear the same chappal, I think, or the same t-shirt. It doesn't matter. But I think, money has got some purpose, like the way, like I think Venki said, like I think, you can do whatever you want. I think he has created a wonderful non-profit. So I think one can do it. So, the per capita income. So which is again, which is the most important thing. What happens? You've got 1% of the population, like, which is very rich. So like, per capita income is nothing but how much income, like I think, per person this country is generating. So on a good basis, on a standalone basis, the number looks good. But the top 1% makes so much money, the bottom of the pyramid still continues to not make so much of money. So I think that's where the real social issues come. I think that's for another day, but I just thought I'll just leave the concept. So I will leave, I would talk about the business valuation for a minute or two, and then we'll go to the next one. The business valuation is nothing but, I think last time I asked people, if you have to buy one ground of property, let's say in Madurai, probably the costliest area is Chiruchukigalam, one of the most, KK Nagar. Oh, it's not Chiruchukigalam. Okay, so KK Nagar. KK Nagar, let's say like one ground of KK Nagar would be how much? I'm just saying, like I think, let's say one ground property, like let's say 5 crores. I'm just giving a number. How did that 5 crores come in? Because someone said, like, I think this is what the value is. I have the money and I need to buy it. Just compare that with the financial asset. How on earth someone is saying like Infosys is worth 2 lakh crores, 5 lakh crores, or Uram is worth X crores. This business is worth 10 crores. That business is worth 30 crores, 40 crores. I think there's no magic. It is the same as like I think what is perceived value of the business. How the perceived asset has got some value, your business has got some valuation. Okay, it's nothing. The valuation can go up, valuation can come down, it can destroy, it can look fancy, it can make real money, but business valuation is nothing but what is the perceived value of the business or that idea on that particular day. That's how I would like to put it for the ease of students and others. Can we move to the next one, sir? So this is what I talked about, okay, good. So when I made this, I think it's almost about 8 trillion now in terms of purchasing power parity. If you put 8 trillion, I think we should be the number 3rd economy, US, China, and after that, I think we should be the number 3rd economy in terms of purchasing power parity. In dollar terms, like I think we'll be the 4th. Yeah, let's move, sir. Okay. So I've used this 2014, it's not my fault, I think my analyst fault. So it's nothing to do with Modi or pre-Modi, don't get me like I think into politics. So I'm just like use that as more as a reference. One of the, if one has to look at it in terms of people saying that I think there's too much money is being raised, I think you said that, Samarisa, too much money being raised, too much money founders are chasing and all those things. But just look at it this way. How many, I think like the way I mentioned that I think you had only 2 colors of car. After Little soap and Synthol soap, or even after Mysore Sandal soap, Lifebuoy, how many more brands you have known in life in the last 30 years or 40 years? Can you tell me? Only Hamam and Lifebuoy. Why? Huh? Still, why? Why not? Why there are not many brands which is happening? Why? Huh? No, it's nothing to do with advertisement. Okay, the way the business is controlled. Okay, you got distributors, you got like levers sitting there, Hindustan levers, you got PNG sitting there, you got other big companies sitting there. They sell it through the distributors. Okay? And I can tell you, professionals are lazy people. Once they reach a level, they become very, very lazy. Okay? I'm just only provoking. Okay? I'm just only saying, I think all my professional friends will say, like, I think that's not true. But I think they think if something has worked well, why the hell we should change it? Okay? That's how these companies have ruled. It's not business. It's more running like a ration shop. For this distributor, I will send you this much of stock. You have to buy it. Yeah, correct. Oh, no, sir. Please wait. The same is true with, like, I think some of these businesses. But you just imagine, you had someone like, I think, our bamboo tea man, I think for lack of any, what's your name, sir? I forgot. Sutakar, I think, if Arola is the brand, am I right? So Arola is the brand, like he's making tea out of bamboo. And asking him, how are you selling it? I am selling it in Amazon. So this guy is not worried about Gannan Tevan tea and then one fancy looking actor or actress has to come and sell his tea. Correct? He can make good photographs and then like put it in like online and say like, I think digitally I can sell it. We had to wait for a disruption of this nature to go and sell tea or soap or anything for that matter. That's what is happening. So I think all this fancy of like, I think Startup India, like I think all this is like, I think it's a very fancy numbers. Like I think you talked about like, I think how like ease of business, ease of doing business, like I think startup registrations have gone up. This is all byproduct. The main product is, even if government didn't do anything, this would have happened. Okay. The IT industry was born because government didn't do anything. Okay. I'm saying all governments didn't do anything. And it happened like, I think they said, boss, like, I think I'll do it. I'll just go out and do it. And then everyone realized, oh, this is such a great opportunity. Let me go behind it. Similarly, like some of those, like I think developments which is happening around us do not require bigger policy support. Once you get it, then they will make policies for it. Okay. So this is like, I would put it this way. The professor sends you out of the classroom because he thinks that you are wrong or you made a mischief. Okay, that's what happens. We are a strictly rule-bound country. It's like Singapore. You are X, you are Y, this is all right, this is not all right, they all move out. In a country which has got hunger, which has got poverty, would necessarily have creation, necessarily have innovation, necessarily will have big ambitions and big visions, and also have frauds. It all comes together, am I right? I think, it can lead to anything. When it does that, you have disruptions of like magnitude, like which is beyond anyone's like, I think, imagination. And that creates more and more businesses. And that's why like your number of startups in this country is going, because you have a platform in which like, I think you can do these businesses. You have the avenues and opportunities. See, there used to be a saying, all businesses are made out of Delhi. All revenues are made out of Delhi. Which means like, I think at the policy decisions. It's not actually at the business level. This used to be a saying. I don't know whether it was right or wrong. But today I can say all businesses are made like I think in any part of the world, any part of the country, and then subsequently they come out with this policy saying that, boss, this is right and this is wrong. So it's like role of like I think policies have changed. So that's one of the reasons like I think why like I think as a country we become a very good startup ecosystem. It's also because of the ecosystem. It's not necessarily like I think only the policy changes and support system or ecosystem by the government. We all like the governments, we all like the support, but we also need to recognize that individual aspirations like I think lead to changes rather than policy changes alone. So that's what I was just trying to capture. So I think if you could move to the next one. What is more important for the country? More important for the country like for starting business is capital. If you don't have money, either in the form of debt at some point in time or in form of equity, it's very difficult to sustain the growth because you need reinvestments. You have to create metro, you have to create, like, so once, I think people will wonder why this guy is talking about metro. One of our companies, which is manufacturing signaling equipments, which we started about 5-7 years back. And like he said, like, sir, I think metro is going to be a great opportunity for me. I'm going to work along with Siemens and I'm going to create signaling equipments for Siemens. Okay, great. And this is a guy like I think who passed out of Mysore. He never went for a job except 1 year of internship and stayed back in Mysore and said, like, I'll create this. I said, okay, fine, but he's an old gentleman. Then it's like, he was, obviously like we liked that idea. And then we said, okay, fine, like I think we'll put some money. We can see, like I think, today, that company, like I think is listed in the market, in the market. It got listed about 3 weeks back or 4 weeks back. I think my last count, I think I haven't seen the price for some time. I think the market capitalization of the company, I think, which is nothing but the business valuation, is about 4,000 crores. Just like, I think, but he saw that opportunity coming like about 7 years back, 8 years back. Why I'm talking about metro and why I'm talking about foreign direct investment. India is a capital-starved country. We have to create infrastructure. We have to make investments in many of the sectors. We do not have all the money like within our country to make sure like I think we can make those investments. We need money to come from outside of the country which are richer. Richer not because they've got more money, richer because they've got lesser number of people and have like I think equivalent money. Because they have like only few people to like I think manage. And hence like I think that money has to come to India. We had some of the best decades like in terms of last 1 decade, I think last year even, has been the best in terms of foreign direct investment like I think in the country. So that's why like I think you see lots of investments coming into India like in various sectors. Just keep that. When you do your startup business ideas, you have to be really looking at what's happening around you. Micro is one, which is what you are doing every day. And what you have to look at is like, how do I ride macro? I'll just give a small example. Avayar பாடல் ஒன்று இருக்கு, நெல்லுக்கு பாஞ்சது புல்லுக்கும் பாஞ்சது. Okay. So, it's called unintended consequences, am I right? நான் பாய்ச்ச வேண்டியது நெல்லுக்கு, ஆனால் போய் பாகிறது புல்லுக்கும் பாயுது. Whenever you make a decision, there are always unintended consequences. You don't know it on the day when you make the decision. Okay. I'm not here to debate whether demonetization is right or demonetization is wrong. And that's for history to tell. Okay. Or like, if you have to say within 10 years, we are also wrong. It's for the history to judge. Demonetization, at least the said objectives, where like I think, one can go and see the speech of the Prime Minister or like I think anyone, they said something. But on the புல்லுக்கு பாஞ்சது வந்து எதுன்னு தெரியுமா? அவர் சொன்னது நான் வந்து கருப்பு பணத்தை பிடிக்க போறேன் தான். அது நெல்லு. Actual impact was your UPI, Paytm, PhonePe, GPay, all those pays. And if you tell me, those people who are sitting in that room deciding on demonetization, if they had known that I am doing this only for making digital economy, I think, that's like, it's like one of those Tamil movie climaxes which is very difficult to believe, am I right? So I think, I've not seen so many Tamil movies, but I'm just saying like, but the unintended consequences of those decisions result in many bigger businesses, like I think, which is what eventually, like, they think that I think, this is a master stroke. Also be remember that I think such, like I think decisions also could backfire where unintended consequences, like I think, நெல்லுக்கும் பாஞ்சு புல்லுக்கும் பாஞ்சு, if புல்லு வந்து பயங்கரமா வளர ஆரம்பிச்சிச்சு நெல்லே வளரல அப்படினா, you see the impact. So that is what like I'm trying to say. Like I think the point I was trying to say, this 35 billion digital transaction is the biggest boom the country has ever seen. Okay. It is not because everyone was wanting to do digitally. It is also because like I think what happened in one event where people said, okay, I'm going to take this out and from tomorrow. Okay. When TikTok was banned by India, am I right? TikTok no app irundha theriyala. Theriyuma illa TikTok na everyone used to be there. I'll just tell you one small example of that. In the COVID lockdown, one of our companies runs retail stores. It has got grocery and like other, So I was just looking at the sales numbers one day, like the cosmetic products sales, like I think went up. I said, like, boss, people are not going to office, women are not going out, all of them are locked down at houses. Why is the hell the cosmetic like is going up? Then I figured out 2 days later, all of them are doing this TikTok, YouTube. And they wanted to look nicer in YouTube and like cosmetics. Again, what is Nellu? What is Pullu? Okay, so I think, these things will keep coming to you like in terms of like, I think, So this 35 billion digital transactions which I was referring to, that created an economy which is outside of this traditional companies, which is like your levers, like I think, take everyone, like I think, you can talk about banks, SBI, like I think, how certain things were certain companies are really disrupting them and bypassing them. One or two right things, one or two not so right things, but maybe like I think, someone said, I think I'm a very lucky prime minister or a lucky chief minister, or I think, when I come it rains. No one knows. It's the act of God. When certain things happen, all things fall in place. Correct? So I think those things resulted in certain things happening for India. And that's one of the reasons why like you get to see like I think a boom of startups which has happened in the last few years. So can you just move? Okay, the one decision like I think which has really made a huge impact, which is a very known decision, is opening up the Jan Dhan accounts for everyone. That really helped because like where the money was going, subsidy money was going. We have a two-wheeler finance company. We finance two-wheelers in our rural areas of South India. So we have close to about 1,200 people there. So within about demonetization and COVID, we were still able to stay afloat because people are able to pay out of their Jan Dhan accounts. People who never had bank accounts had bank accounts and they were able to borrow. And once they borrow, I think then their profile become better and their ability to access capital becomes better and better. So maybe I think I'll give credit to one of those decisions is Jan Dhan, which has created again this 35 billion transactions. See, whatever I'm talking is not politics. Whatever I'm talking is only economics and my perspective. Let's just move on. Okay. This is, I just don't want to repeat it. What has happened in the last 2 years is all countries have printed money left, right, and center. Printing money, like I think, which means like like the way you have a balance sheet, every house has a balance sheet, countries have a balance sheet. Because of COVID, they went and printed more money, created more liabilities, more assets, they threw away money. So I think money went across the world. So the money has been coming like for all the assets. So I think that's one of the reasons why the valuations of certain businesses have gone up. But the good thing is, a good chunk of money, like I think, came to India and it chased ideas. In the last 5 years, on an average, like would have been about $40–50 billion in PE VC money has come in. $40–50 billion of money which has come in, like which is tremendous, humongous. The reason I'm saying is, at one point in time, one of the founders told me that hiring a tech person in Bangalore is actually costlier than hiring a person in San Francisco. Because like there was so much of money which was available for certain skill sets. Even if they had more money, they had to pay out more. I think probably like Venki can speak about that later. But at some point in time, like I think, the flush of money has created so much problem, like I think for these companies, they were not able to attract talent. So I've just given you I'll just share the presentation with whoever you want. I think, it's left with Dr. Chandran. I think, he can always, and we can put it on the website or whatever it is. Okay, this is the same thing. The one thing which I just want to talk about it is the emergence of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And Tamil Nadu is a great example for that. I think we have seen it in some other states also. It used to be Chennai-centric, Mumbai-centric, Bangalore-centric, but not anymore. I would say, I was just talking to someone in the morning, maybe it's a conspiracy theory, I'm sorry, is that I was just saying like the way some of these Coimbatore entrepreneurs stayed back in Coimbatore. If TVS had to stay back in Madurai, the entire extended family had to stay back in Madurai, what could have happened to Madurai is like economic. Okay. So personally, I think it was a miss. I think in the next wave of like economical boom, that's something like we need to arrest it. And I see it from that perspective, like I think tier 2 and tier 3 like emerging as economies. And I've been encouraging Venki to say that boss, move out of Chennai, create something like down south, or even go to some other places, go to Tanjavur, but I think don't be in Chennai. Like I think, we all have a commitment where we need to go back and see whether, and Mr. Vembu has set up a very good example. So the first thing we did in our two-wheeler finance company was to, I think, it was one of those, that boss, do whatever you want, but I need an office in Madurai. So we went and hired an office in BB Gulam Road. We created a 100-seater back office. Like, I think, so we didn't have anyone who knows this financing business. We said, like, send people, let them stay there for 3 months, let them train people who are from any walks of life, how to write credit, how to look at the documentation, how to write a loan. And today, like, I think after 5 years, I think we've got about 250 people there. So I think it's a question of emergence of tier 2 and tier 3. I think, the commitment which, like, I think you guys are working in tier 2, tier 3, it's heartening to see when you guys came and pitched it today. So it's a matter of time. It may not happen in one day. It might take few years. But the quality of education, the quality of healthcare, the quality of school, and quality of year, and quality of life is much, much better. I can tell you, like, we have an office in Delhi. Every time I have to go to Delhi, like, I think I'll think twice. Should I really go to Delhi? Because, like, I think, I look at the air quality index in Chennai, it is 25-30, and there it is 500. So I actually, it is as good as me smoking 20 cigarettes a day if I breathe that air. So it's for God's sake, I think, we need to have emergence in tier 2 and tier 3, and that would happen. And that's happening. So we, out of the 17 investments we have made in, Tamil Nadu, I think, I can say, like, I think at least 10, 11 of them are outside of Chennai. So I think it's, it's a good thing. I'm sure, I think we can do more. There are many people who are there. Many good people will come. And there are a lot of, like, I think, influx of people who have done a lot of things outside of the country or outside of state, even Chennai, would want to come back and do it. So I think emergence of tier 2 and tier 3 would be a real story to play out in the next 2 to 3 years or maybe a decade. Next one, sir. Okay. So this is the statistics. I just want to talk about how many of you know students, from students' perspective, what is unicorn? $1 billion? $1 billion? Valuation. So it means nothing, correct? So, in the sense, you are like the way the property in KK Nagar is valued at 5 crores a ground. You are saying, like, this company is worth 8,200 crores or 8,270 crores if you have to take today's US dollar. So India has got a lot of unicorns, like, in the last 3-4 years. I think in a matter of time, like, we have more than 100, and it keeps growing every month, but this valuation, I just want to tell you, people who run the businesses will tell you. I think this was told by one of very senior businessmen. Bala, அது அப்படியே கண்ணில் தெரியும்ப்பா, அது பேப்பராகவே தான் இருக்கும். நான் என்னோட ஷேர் சர்டிஃபிகேட் எடுத்துகிட்டு போய் ஒரு பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் டிக்கெட் வாங்கினா கூட முடியல. நீ வேணால் சொல்லிக்கோ, யூனிகார்ன் வேல்யூவேஷன் 10,000 கோடி 5,000 கோடின்னு வச்சுக்கோ. பட் எனக்கு அதுக்கு லிக்விடிட்டியே கிடையாது. நீ வா, நீ பணம் போடு, நீ பணம் ஜாஸ்தி பண்ணி எடுத்துகிட்டு போயிடுவேன். நான் ஒரு ஷேர் விற்றா கூட ஏதோ பிரச்சனை இருக்குது, அதனால் அந்த ஷேரை விற்றுட்டான், அதனால் இல்லைனா விற்றுருக்க மாட்டான் அப்படின்னு வரும். ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் it's fanciful, it is important, we need to create wealth, but it is not the end of the journey. There are so many beautiful businesses which can be created without taking money. Even if you take money, like, without being a unicorn, even, like, I think, even if it doesn't become a scalable company, beautiful company, small company, impactful company, one can create. It's there in 2 districts, 3 districts, in 5 districts, good. There is nothing wrong in it. There is no reason that it should be a pan-India company, it should be a global company. No, it can be a small company, like 3 districts, 5 districts, it can be an impactful business. Every businessman, like, I think, need not be worried, like, I think, what's happening. That's why I'm saying, don't read too many newspapers. Don't many newspapers, I think, especially startup news portals, like, I think, which will tell you, this guy, like, I think, okay, having said that, we also, like, I think, need PR. I think I'll say all these things and then call sir and tell him, sir, I think, why don't you publish this tomorrow? So I think take care of me, so that I think people know that I think we are here to fund people. But the point is, certain romanticization, like, I think we need to stay away. The unicorn is the biggest romanticization of, like, I think, startups which is happening. In my view, it is happening too much, and it's not the right way to measure businesses. Like, I think if someone talks to me, sir, I think, in a matter of time we'll be unicorn, I'll be the first one to step out and say, like, I think, Arun, PV, why don't you just talk to him? Like, I think I'm unable to connect with him, and then move away. Okay, so I think, so that's what I thought I should tell you this. But there are so many good companies have born. There are so many good companies. How many of you have known Uram before this? Yes, people who are sitting in this room, how many of you known Uram before Venki came and spoke? How many of you heard about Uram? 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. Good. Not many people, 7 people. Thanks to you. I would love any day, like I think you build a company like which is under the radar, not visible, completely invisible, do the work and keep doing the work same day, I think, same work day in, day out, time and again, keep doing the same work. One day, like I think, you would create a great business, like I think, which need not be recognized by anyone, but you would be recognized internally saying that I think I did a job like which is I'm proud of. Okay, in Anicut, we did so many investment in the first 5 years, no one knew us. Okay, I think hardly anyone knew, like I think, this is what we have done. And then I think we hired this young lady from IIM in Trichy, like I think, she said, I think I don't know this company. And I think also some young people said, I think we don't know this company. I think first thing they said, I think, how do we make this company know? How do we make this company know? Let's get a PR out. Let's say, like I think LinkedIn, this, that. In a way, it's good. But at the same time, I would have preferred personally that I think, how we could have stayed under the radar, created a good business, and that business is valuable. It supports a great ecosystem, and like it does not romanticize the valuation. It doesn't romanticize, like I think, some of these factors which people otherwise romanticize. But a good, solid business, like I think, which is for people, which has created jobs, which has created a proposition, which has become a, which has become the integral part of people's lives. I'd be any day will be very happy. So I think that's like my, my proposition. I think I'll leave it to the people, in terms of how they want to look at their businesses. Thank you. Next one, sir. In terms of where are we from our startup, journey? Tamil Nadu, I think probably in my view, I think is some of this, okay, let me take the Madurai example. And even the Coimbatore example. I think till about 10 years back. So whenever I met with people, I always say, sir, I think at the time of independence, we had some of the greatest businessmen of the land came from Coimbatore, Chennai, Madurai. They created certain wonderful businesses. But between 1990, when it got opened up, until 2010, there were so many new businesses which have got born. But none came from South India. None came from South Tamil Nadu. None came from even Coimbatore. If you look at it, and that's like, I think, not a great thing to be done. Am I right? If you also look at it current context, most of the businesses are, getting born out of Bangalore, born out of like, New Delhi capital region, or even for the matter Hyderabad. I think the number of companies, like I think, which is born out of this place, like I think, which is in new businesses, is actually like, I think, dismally low. We might be a great state. I'm not saying, I think we might be a great state, like we might be a, we might be producing, like I think manufacturing wise, like I think we are a great state. But even then, we are, probably losing out. But I think the government is trying to do something. We have got a Tamil Nadu startup mission. I think I've got my batchmate. She's doing some hackathon. She's that Madurai tech community, she is, as a non-profit. So I think there are a lot of people who are moving back and trying to do certain things, like in which like we can be back again as a proud Tamilian or Tamil Nadu in terms of startup map. Yes, sir. Next one, sir. Are we done? Okay. So this is this is a research which is little old. We think these are the areas in which there would be a big opportunities, like I think for India going forward. Fintech, healthcare. And I think we are a big believer of consumer brands. We are a very big believer of consumer brands. Like the way we said, there was no brand other than in soap. In cosmetics, people only would know about few brands. Like I think, so we were one of the investors in Sugar Cosmetics. We were, the earliest investor in one beer company, because the beer which was created by Vijay Mallya was for our generation. There is no beer for the younger generation. Leave Tamil Nadu, because Tamil Nadu's alcohol politics is completely different. So I think like that, every consumer brand, we were early investor in one company called Raw Pressery, which was juices. We were early investor in one company called Wingreens. So consumer is something like which you are very fond of. Anything which you can sell. We are one of the, we are probably the only investor in this brand called Milky Mist. So I can go on. We were the first investor in Manna Food. So I can go on. Like I think this is all, we love consumer. Consumer is going to be big, like the way healthcare is. Consumer, there will be too many brands. I was just quoting an example in the afternoon. When I met Jackie Innerwear, in late 90s, the percentage of innerwear which is non-branded was almost 95%. People never had a branded innerwear. They buy innerwear in Dindukal Road, okay, or in Tirupur, or in like I think Madras Pandi Bazaar. Okay, they never worried about the brand. They would say like 200 rupees, whatever number of rupees, and they'll buy. Even after 25 years of jockey, like being at Jockey, Dixie, Big Boss, you know, I've seen Salman Khan in one or two advertisements, all those things. Even today, innerwear, branded innerwear is only 50%. The remaining 50% is still sold in Dindukal Road and like in Pandi Bazaar. So we think FMCG is a big area. So, and also sustainability. The clean tech, we think that's the next big boom, which could possibly, like I think, we were the first investors in a company like which is making shoes out of PET bottles, also wool, I think which Venki is wearing. I think some of our, I'm not wearing one today, and also a company which is going to get air out of water, water out of air. Not water out of air is an old thing. Okay, there are so many technology where you can make water out of air. But like this boy, who is an Er.IAS PhD, like he's trying water from air, like at an industrial scale. So just imagine all these political problems of saying that you are depleting my, groundwater. And like Pepsi is running away with my water, alcohol companies are running away with my water. If you produce water at an industrial scale from air, just imagine like how good it is, just imagine. So we think sustainability is a big thing, solar related engineering services. Those are areas like I think which we think, these are nothing to do with Anicut. I'm just saying like I think from a country's perspective where these things could become. So these are areas we think, I think, have potential for the country in the next 10, 15 years to grow. So this is where I started off. I think, I used to tell my colleagues, I'm completely positive on every damn thing. I never look negative. The only thing which I'm not positive is about HIV. Everything else is I'm positive. So I think just jokes apart, but I think, aridu maninarai preppadaridu. So I think there's one life, we should give a shot, we should try it out. I think, failure is, is not an issue. Like I think, you're all bound to fail one day, But I just want to leave this thought with you. Have you ever seen a king retiring in history? Have you ever seen a king retiring? So this king was there and then peacefully retired and then went back. Have you ever read? Never. King always gets killed. Most often gets killed by his own people. Okay? Politicians, businessmen, entrepreneurs, we are all kings. We are born to be kings. Okay? Remember, you will always get killed. Okay? And by your own people, by your own decisions. But in history books, you would go as a king. Okay? 10 years later, 20 years later, people would say, I think there was a king. And that's how I looked at my life. So I just want to leave this, here, like I think whether it's right or wrong, I just thought I'll just like, I think, look at it. So we are the modern day, if I have to give a pep talk, modern day freedom fighters, creating jobs, creating capital, doing all those things. I think if there is an economic failure, it's not a moral failure. That's what I'm trying to say. You would have an accident if you are in business. You will bound to have an accident. You would have an accident. Not many people would escape an accident. If you escaped an accident, it's fine. If you run business, you would have a problem. You would have tons of problems. You could have economic problems. Your economic failure, for God's sake, it's a moral failure. That's why I'm saying, kings, we need to have a thick skin. We need to be prepared, like I think, for sudden death. No issues. But I think there's fun in being a king. There's fun in trying out. There's fun in doing, like I think, entrepreneurship. I wish you all the best, and I think you can do a good job. Thank you so much. Any questions? I'm okay. Otherwise, it's fine.
Thank you, sir, for providing an overview about Indian startups. It's almost time for the end of the event, and we know that thanking is a better way to make feel end like a beginning. I request Dr. S. Chandran, Dean Students, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir.
Thank you very much. Respected Trustee Er.IAS sir, and today's chief guest Venkatesh Ramaratnam, and our the pillar for the entire program, Mr. Er.IAS Balamurugan. So to be very short and sweet, the day is for entrepreneurs. I hope every one of you have understood that the entire day is for the entrepreneurs. Either you are a senior entrepreneur or you are a startup that you are started to grow now, or it is an aspiring entrepreneur of students or incubates. So three generations were here. We had a very nice time. The talk from Venki sir or the talk from Bala sir, it's a great inspiration that gives an idea about how your life would be when you are taking this track. Probably this is a very important message for every one of us. So considering the time, I would like to thank Mr. Venki for sparing the entire day. Almost when I was standing with Bala sir in the morning, almost by 9:30 he said I entered into the airport. Probably the time that he started from his home. Probably he will reach by 9:30 or 10 tonight. The entire day, you can have a very, very big hand to Mr. Venki. So like that, the entire team of Anicut, it's not only the captain, the entire team of Anicut. I'm really thankful to Mr. Arun, Mr. Venkatesh, Mr. Balaji, Madam Suprita, Pranav, Ankita and Kunal. The entire team, they deserve for a very big applause. Because it is a big process. It is happening for the past 30 days. Continuous meetings, screening of the startups and everything happened. So I thank every one of them. From the TC team, the able leadership of Er.IAS sir. Again, our principal, Dr. Palninatha Raja, and the young team, head by the Mr. Ashok Kumar from Tripoli, then the new CEO Sebin, and the entire team of Entrepreneurship Development Cell, Madam Kartika, Senthilarasi, and Sandhya, and Subhashini, and Mr. Julius, Mr. Selva Prasad, and our entire team from a TSS car. A word from Venki sir said, even this program is not possible with these 20 to 25 people during his talk. Exactly like that happened. A team from TC worked very hard on it. I would like to thank the team that did the comparing, Madam Swarnalakshmi and students Meenakshi and Tendral. Beyond all these things, I would like to very personally thank the startups who came here for pitching. They need a very big hand from every one of you. And also, I personally thank that incubates from the TBI. And also our entire support team who are here for the audio visuals and everything. And my personal thanks to Mr. Sundar from Hindu, who spent almost 3-4 hours with us. I thank every one of you and join for a cup of tea. If I miss anyone, please kindly forgive me. Thank you very much.
To fill the feedback by scanning the QR codes pasted around. Let's rise for the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जाहे तव शुभ आशीष माहे गागे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल गाथा